Hey everyone, welcome back to me making a progress report on Wuthering Waves, because that's what this is at this point. Anyway, so how's Wuthering Waves doing?
Come to me, mighty god killer.
Oh, this is peak. I think it's pretty good, but... Oh no, not this again. No, don't get me wrong. It's a pretty good version, but I had this odd feeling about this version. I don't know what it is. I think the best way to describe it is like when looking at a student's assignment and you have this unnerving feeling that something is up, like they procrastinated or something despite them achieving everything that was asked of them, and all you can do is give them a fairly good grade. Yeah, let's go with that analogy. You know what? Never mind. Let's just talk about what stood out to me in this version. But before we get into the nitty gritty, let me just preface with this. This entire video is going to be filled with a bunch of spoilers, so I would say finish the story content first and then come back. Anyway, let's start with... So let me tell you what I liked about the main story. This story takes on a full solo party experience that feels less like a gacha game and more like a linear experience that is specifically designed for an immersive experience. What I mean by that is that you cannot play with any other character except for Rover. I'm curious about what other people might think about this, where they cannot bring their own characters to this story, but personally, I feel like it gives it that immersive touch. It also makes it easier to design and control the story in a way that Kuro feels is most desirable. The other thing that I like is that they put so much care into the narrative. All of the twists and turns behind the mythos of Renacita is done very well, and I was not let down by any of it. But I think the biggest thing worth highlighting was that the story was very well paced. The story was nicely divided up into clear sections, each having a nice break point which gave the story time to breathe, while allowing yourself to take a break, ensuring that you won't get burnt out by this experience. Another thing that I like is the focus on the small cast that we have here. You see, having a small cast makes it easier to focus on each of the characters and their characterizations. And with this focus, did they allow their characters to show more by giving less? What I mean by that is that their dialogue is much more concise, which in turn has them convey more about themselves through sheer voice acting alone. It's much better when the characters hint at their motivations instead of spelling it out for you. Finally, the last thing I liked was the execution of the final boss fight in the story. I love how they incorporated 3 Rovers each donning the 3 available elements, which means that you are playing Rover in her complete form. That was the coolest part ever. Like, this is what we should be expecting out of a main character. Looking back, this story experience was definitely something else. But the thing is, as good as these parts are, something has been eating away at me and I don't know what it is. The reason why I use the whole grading a procrastinated assignment analogy is because there's this lower level of polish that I find emanating from the game. That's not to say that it's not polished, it's just not what I've come to expect. For instance, there are small things with moments like this.
Well, Imperator called you the Lost, and Primus Fenrico claims you are the resonator for Leviathan, the Thrunodian.
Looks like you missed the.
Wow.
I don't think that's what you're supposed to say. I know it's nitpicking, I get it, it's minor stuff. But there are other things that are a bit more striking to me, like the voice performance of Rover. It's certainly better than how she was back at What.X, but the neutral tone that she has makes her feel more robotic if anything, and in turn makes her performance come off as subpar. That's not to say it was bad or anything. As far as I know, Rover speaking in a neutral-like tone seems rather intentional, and at the very least, I love how Rover is being voiced more in the story, as it makes it feel like Rover is more involved in the conversations. They should keep that going, but I wish they kind of upped the emotion where it goes beyond the neutral tone that Rover is going for. As for the others, Cantarella's and Cartathia's performance was really good, but what surprised me the most wasn't the performance of those two. It was actually Sentinel Imperator.
The answer is this. Fleurdelys, thou art my creation. I made thee, thy life, thy hopes, thy will, thy past, all that thou art. I made whole. I made perfect. I fed upon the trust, adoration, and longing heaped upon thee by the masses. Thy resonance brought forth the second dark tide.
Yeah, that was really good. Truth be told, I think that when there's some really good performances that is put alongside the mediocre / pretty alright performances, it becomes a little jarring. Anyway, aside from that, another small thing I take issue with are the walk and talk sections. Look, Renacita's lore is really good. It had my attention and I wanted to know more about everything that was going on. But whenever there's a walk and talk section, I didn't realize that some characters had a ton to say. It catches me off guard that the dialogue sometimes cuts off when you reach a certain destination. To be honest, I'm not sure how to fix this. At this point, I just have to force myself to RP walk my way through some of the dialogue and ensure everyone is done with their yapping. Then there's the fact that Rover has a hidden passive where she just rizzes everyone in her path just by existing. Like what's going on? Instead of Rover, we should just be calling her the Rizzler. I swear, everyone we meet wants to suck us off. At first, it was a fun, on-the-nose type of thing that we can pass off as some dumb fan service, but now it's just weird. Like, we knew Cardathea for a few moments, and then all of a sudden she's acting like she's in the middle of some sort of rom-com. This was really off-putting. Like, come on, this is weird. How did we get here? Oh, okay, that's kind of cute. But still, this is weird. Look, honestly, maybe this sentiment was built up by the fact that this isn't the first time it's happened with other characters. Had this happened for the first time, I would have been like, okay, that's cute. But now I'm at a tipping point. Call me a tourist, I don't care. But the way I see it, I was already sold on Rover and Cardathea being friends throughout the journey. We didn't need the awkward Riz to form a connection with others, it just feels forced. Trust that your writers can build a good relationship in a short amount of time without shoehorning these parts. But I guess gooners are gonna goon. Hot damn, she's big! One other gripe that I had with this quest was what happened at the end. Let's back it up a bit. So back in 2.0, we find that our Digimon is having some problems and we need to go to Renacita to find the Sentinel who would help fix up our Digimon. In our search for the Sentinel, we find that the people of Renacita worship the Sentinel as their god, and we are met by 3 factions who hold the Sentinel in high regard, the highest being the Church of the Deep. Eventually, we find that nothing here is as it seems, and that the truth behind the Sentinel and the past of Renacita is pretty hazy. For the most part, we get hints about the Sentinel with these statues, the mysterious voice in the sky, and some stories in Raguna's mythos. All of it was gassing up the Sentinel, which makes it all the more exciting for when we meet the actual Sentinel. And I was hoping it'd be way better than when we met Jue. Fast forward to the ending of 2.2, it's time. We uncovered the secrets and the truth behind the Sentinel. We got through an epic boss fight, and now it's time to meet the Sentinel Imperator. What is this majestic beast going to look like? Is it going to be like the statues, or is it going to be something else? Well, look no further, because what you're getting is a PNG. Enjoy! Yeah, it was a little disappointing when this moment happened. The first thing that came to my mind was, oh man, we ran out of budget, huh? And the second thing was a form of acceptance saying, well, that's all she wrote. In the end, maybe there's some sort of limitation that came with rendering a Sentinel of this nature, or that it'd be a waste to spend resources on something that will never show up ever again, but it's hard to know. Either way, it doesn't change how I feel about this, especially considering how big of a presence Sentinel Imperator was in Renacita. By the way, how's our Digimon? Well, apparently our problem was solved because Cardathea decided to Mr. Stark I don't feel so good into our hand. Oddly convenient. Worse yet, this problem we've been having was tossed to the side like it was nothing.
Wait, I didn't realize you're the reason I stopped feeling icky.
Should the day come when you find yourself in a
that's
similar
it?
predicament
You're not going to
mine,
say anything else?
I'd
You're
need
just going to be like,
defy your
well,
wishes.
anyway.
Ignore your
Oh my
pleas.
god. Well, at least we got a new power. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is this really good cutscene. You see, when the Sentinel saved Cardathea and went poof, we're met with an epic cutscene which was a flashback to Fleurdelys challenging the merged Sentinel and Threnodian. It's very well done, but to be honest, I felt that it was a bit out of place. Right at the end of the cutscene, I legit thought I was getting ready to fight Fleurdelys again. I think it would have been better if this was placed right before our fight, where as we RP walk towards the chained Fleurdelys, we get flashes of the beginning parts of the cutscene, then it cuts back to Fleurdelys waking up, then the flashback comes back and fully takes over, leading to the point where Fleurdelys Acheron's the waves, merging the past and present of the cutscene. Now that would have been sick. At least, that's how I would have directed this, but oh well, as long as people like it, what's there to complain, right? And that's the thing. Kuro did the assignment. It's been done to the degree that was asked from them. But at the same time, the feeling of, it could be better, has been eating away at me. And most of this is just nitpicking, but it doesn't change how I feel about this whole thing. That said, don't let what my opinions are take away from what this story is. It's very well written with a lot of care to the lore, and when it comes to character writing, it's especially done incredibly well. This might be the best story that sought to answer all of the questions and mysteries that had been piling up in your adventures. And when you consider that, they definitely knocked it out of the park, while still giving you a full experience. Companion quest stories have been a hit or miss for me. Rochia's was a bit of a miss, and Brant was alright, but honestly the voice acting in this quest really carried. So how about Cantarella's? It's pretty good. At first I wasn't really into it because I wasn't sure where this Halloween party was going, but as things started to unravel I was sold. Much like the main quest, this quest took on a similar approach with the exception that this time around, you can use the rest of your party. But as it is a companion quest, it is a full-on try this character out quest for the new character, so who can fault you for using that character the whole way through? Anyway, the biggest similarity is the fact that there are breaks in between sections allowing the story and yourself to breathe as the story takes place in the Sonorosphere, and it is a lengthy one. I understand that there's a bunch of people out there who wants to get through the quest all in one go, and technically you can, but I think this is a good solution that prevents burnout from within a lengthy section. That said, what about the rest of the quest? Well, you see, for the majority of the main quest itself, Cantarella was pretty much absent, so the focus was mostly on Rover and Cartathea. But at least we got just enough information we needed to figure out some of the secrets behind the Physalia family, their involvement with Renacita's history, and Cantarella herself. What the companion quest did was that it served as a direct epilogue to the main experience by filling in the blanks on Cantarella's side, along with some added details about the darkness of the Physalia family. After all, at the end of the main quest, we had this exchange.
Before I forget, Imperator left a message.
Tell me. I'm ready.
From this day forth, you are free.
I'll remember that.
Will you tell the others?
I've spent so long preparing for this day. A few more will hardly make a difference.
And by the end of the companion quest, she delivered on that exchange, which was pretty cool.
Yet thanks to you, we shattered those shackles together. I knew then the time had come for the girls to finally go home. I never meant to draw you into this. I was planning to shoulder it all alone. That's why for this year's Night of Remembrance, I took part myself. And as host, I chose Ghost Girls as the theme.
It felt like this quest was tying a bow on top of everything we have experienced so far for both the main and companion quest. Almost as if this was the true conclusion to this whole arc. Personally, I wasn't expecting much from this quest, but it was a fairly decent experience with how this quest worked out. We got a simple mechanic to play around with and a boss fight that had a unique gimmick. Most of these things didn't overstay their welcome. It's just that I wish that the lantern mechanic was a bit smoother and didn't require us to stand in a specific circle to trigger it. Aside from that, it was a pretty decent quest overall, but I'm sure it doesn't quite matter as I bet all y'all are simping over Cantarella, and good for you, but you know what? I'm a Rosemary fan. Get on my level. In 2.2, we get two new areas, the Bora Waters and the Avenolium. Starting with the Bora Waters, there's not a lot to write home about. This is simply an overglorified entrance to the Avenolium. It's just an island with a giant looking crater with some exploration content littered around the shores. It's not the most amazing area, but I will say that this area has the absolute best skybox out of anywhere in Wuthering Waves. So while you are there, maybe turn the clock to evening and check out the night sky because this is something to behold. Now let's talk about the real meat of the version, the Avenolium. This is home to the super cloudy inverted tower in the sky. I like this concept, a whole citadel-like area lifted into the sky all messed up. And aesthetically, it's pretty cool, but it gets old really fast. A lot of the aesthetics are samey, and at some point the experience starts to get bland. That's not to say the area is less interesting, but it's just an aspect that comes with the territory of this nature. That said, exploring this area is fine. Much like exploring Renacita, you're just going around clearing a bunch of challenges, maybe find a cool secret or two, and that's pretty much it. But here's the thing. Somehow, some of the exploration minigames with the flying and the gondola feel worse than actually using them outside the minigame. It really annoyed me, especially the gondola sections. But overall, in terms of exploring the area itself, it's fine. I'm especially glad they still allowed us to fly around in this area as it's such a core part of this experience. As for the exploration quest, it's definitely not like the other exploration quests we've had in the past. In fact, I would even consider it as an exploration quest. Not because it's incredibly short, but it's because it feels like it's more of a vehicle to give you a very special gift. Now, I won't spoil too much about what this gift is, but I suggest you go through it and experience it for yourself. You see, throughout all of Wuthering Waves, none of the bosses really clicked for me. There were moments where I was like, oh wow, that's cool, but none of them really made me feel the same way that I felt when fighting PGR bosses. A part of me simply wants to accept that both games are fundamentally different in terms of combat pacing and design, but the Fleurdelys boss fight may have hinted that it might be cope. The unhinged violence, the pressure, and the amount of aura in the fight, all without the crazy visual clutter but still maintaining that epic spectacle, it was a near perfect experience. Now, let's back up a bit. So generally what I love about Kuro's boss fights are the 1v1s where there's this kind of tension of not knowing who will come out of this alive. Personally, I don't care about the challenge. In fact, I'd rather not advocate for extreme challenges that would destroy someone. At the same time, I don't want an easy experience either. What I value is a balanced fight, and what matters most to me is that a fight feels like a fight. I don't want to play an encounter where I'm wishing I had a flashbug in the game, or playing some kind of rhythm game, or playing dodgeball, or making sure some random BS from the sky doesn't ruin me. I just want the kind of fight where we're constantly clashing in a battle of attrition where neither side would be giving any ground. Basically, a fight. And let me tell you, Fleurdelys brought it. This was an excellently done boss fight. Each of her movesets and mechanics were designed with careful precision along with some cool visual effects to spice up the fight. There were some other boss fights in Wuthering Waves that were close to reaching this level, but they didn't hit that right note. This, on the other hand, is the kind of boss I would love to come back and fight over and over again, just as many times as I have fought Arkveld. So I'm excited for when her hologram comes out because it will be sick. But yeah, the Fleurdelys boss fight was peak, and hopefully in the future, I'm going to be saying the same thing when new bosses come around the corner. I have always felt weird about Wuthering Waves, and it's probably because it's mostly rooted in what I've come to expect from them as a PGR player. Back in PGR, there's this creative vision that is clearly there, and we can definitely feel it. It's just that the limitations of what PGR is holds that game back. My hope is that Wuba can take the creative vision that they are offering in their previous game and take it all the way. Unfortunately, that's not exactly what we got, which isn't a bad thing, but at the same time, with the content we got, I still get the feeling that there's definitely more that they can do. But at the same time, what holds me back from doubling down on this sentiment is the acceptance of the fact that this is a gacha game. Sometimes a patch like this might be the most they can do for us. I know I've been mostly talking about the story, but as of late, it's been the kind of content that's been taking the limelight. And I'm not going to lie, somehow I feel like the combat content feels like me running on a hamster wheel. I'm just going through the motions and I get bored real quick. What interests me for the time being is the world and the story that they created in Wuba. And let me tell you, it's definitely worth it. I'm willing to bet that the scars of the Huanglong arc has done its damage and some people aren't willing to let that go. It's understandable. But Renacita has been a different experience and I do encourage you to give this story a chance. Now, in their 2.2 livestream, they did state that this will be a smaller patch as they're preparing for a big anniversary event for Wuba. So I'm hoping this anniversary will be one of the greatest patches that has ever been patched into the game. If we're getting a small patch like this, I hope 2.3 is going to blow everything out of the water. And especially when comparing it to PGR, oh, I hope you're going to offer more than what PGR has offered in the past. I mean, look at what's going on right now. We got a bunch of rewards including a free S-Rank that is really strong. And it's just for a half anniversary. Half! Definitely should expect a free 5-star. Better yet, a free debuting 5-star. Anyway, that's all I have to say. If you like this video, do leave a like. And for more content like this, maybe subscribe. For now, I'm going to wonder how many more characters are going to come out with a name that starts with a C and ends with an A in this game. It's going to get confusing if this trend continues.